Hello everybody, my name's Karen and this is my first time on YouTube. I'm not doing this video for any monetary gain or any future videos. I'm not doing it for monetary gain, but rather I want to share my story on waking up from being one of Jehovah's Witnesses for 35 years. But before I go any further, I just want to send a message to each member of the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses. You know who you are, based in Warwick, in New York. I resigned, both my husband and I resigned 2 weeks ago now on the 9th of February. So we, according to the Shepherd, the Flock of God book, under chapter 18, disassociation, paragraph 6, if I can just read this, it says, since disassociation is an action taken by the publisher rather than the committee, there is no arrangement for an appeal. Therefore, the announcement of disassociation can be made at the next midweek meeting without waiting 7 days. After the announcement is made to the congregation, the committee should insert the date of the announcement on the record of disfellowshipping, disassociation or judicial reproof form and send the form promptly to the service department. We were not announced last Wednesday in line with your procedures, governing body members. So what that shows is that your elders in the local congregation that we were part of, which is Kalanga Congregation, North Brisbane, Australia, are having a laugh at you because they know that you're not going to fly in and see how they do things. But I know that they haven't made an announcement because it's their last piece of control over, or so they think, it's their last piece of control over me and my husband to remove ourselves from this organisation. It's almost like they're saying, well, you think you're going to be disassociated. Last week, we're going to disassociate you when we're ready, not when you want. Okay? And the reason why I say this, governing body members, is that next week, it's the assembly for Kalanga Congregation. So there'll be no announcement then because there's no midweek meeting. So we have to wait another week. Now running into the first month in March. The first week in March, sorry. We're having to wait. You know, they can't even dignify us by doing the right thing by your policies. So I think that you, members of the governing body, should be getting in touch with the elders at Kalanga, North Brisbane, Australia, and telling them to get their act together because they're making you look like fools because they know that you're not going to be there to see how they do things. And I might add, governing body members of Jehovah's Witnesses, that they always do these things regardless of what your book says. And your Shepherd, the Flock of God book, it's not a clandestine, secretive book that only the elders should be in receipt of. Anybody can download that book, the 2023 updated version, and I'm sure you'll be updating it again with everything that's going on. Anybody can download it from the public domain. I was a Jehovah's Witness for 35 years and I gave it my best. I gave you, governing body members, my best. You have my youth. You took my finances, for which you cannot give me a breakdown of where my dedicated thousands of dollars went with all the child sexual abuse cases that are going on. I want my money back. I want my money back because you can't prove to me where my money's gone. But all the evidence is saying that you're using dedicated funds to pay for these lawsuits that are happening all over the world. But you don't tell that to your congregants, do you, governing body members? You don't put that on your jw.org website, do you, governing body members? And yet you do your talks and do your spiel and come across as holier than thou, righteous men. But inside, like Jesus said, you're full of dead men's bones. And you hoodwinked me and 8.5 million people. You've hoodwinked us for decades. In fact, you've been hoodwinking us for over 100 years. And now, with the advent of the internet and the flow of information, which is actually like an avalanche now, you guys are playing catch up. You've been resting on your laurels and doing things in secret for decades. And now everything has been dragged into the light about this organisation. You break up families and friendships with the shunning policy. I've lost friendships for over 15 years that I had to meet up with in a public place and say goodbye to because of your rules and your constraints, which are not biblical. They're not Christ-like. Our Lord never shunned anyone, but you do, because it's a means to control. You'll recall in the 1947 Awake that you likened the Catholic Church as demonic and satanic for excommunicating their congregants. And yet 5 years later, you were doing exactly the same thing. I want to ask you, governing body members, why did you introduce that? Why did you introduce that policy? Because it's not scriptural. The policy, I want to know. I want to know. Because there are people leaving left, right and centre all over the world. Good, honest-hearted people like me and my husband that gave you our best. And we were treated terribly. We were mentally and emotionally and psychologically abused by the elders in Kalanga Congregation, North Brisbane, for 4 years. 4 years, culminating in them meeting with my son last year, bullying him and accusing him of criminal activity and behaviour, for which we can prove was just a lie by these elders. Elders, not the congregants, elders, causing all of this trouble. What are you going to do about that, Jeffrey Jackson? What are you going to do about it, Mark Sanderson, Gerard Loesch, Stephen Lett, Jeffrey Winder, Gage Flegel, Samuel Hurd? What are you going to do about it? I'm requesting an audience with you because I know that I'm allowed to do that. I know that's my right. But you're not going to pick the phone up, are you, and have a one-on-one conversation with me? No. I think what we went through was absolutely disgusting. And we tried to phone Sydney Bethel to come and investigate what was happening just to us as a family over the last 4 years. And they did. They washed their hands of the whole affair. And then I even tried to phone Warwick to get to speak with one of you governing body members to highlight what is going on locally here in Brisbane, Australia. Because Kalanga Congregation is one of the most judgmental, cruelest congregations I've ever been in over the last 35 years of me being in this organisation. So you need to listen to this, because I think and I believe that I speak on behalf of so many people that are just not being heard, that are just being silenced. And in the worst case scenario, because they cannot stomach being part of this organisation anymore, they disassociate and then they lose their network of support. So they become isolated. and then depressed. And then what happens? They go and commit suicide. That's what happens. And you need to do something about this, because it's not going to go away. You need to contact elders on local levels, and you need to kick their butts, because they are laughing at you. They're laughing at your policies. And my suggestion is this: instead of sending the circuit overseer just twice a year for a week, you guys need to start employing proper professional auditors to come in to the congregations of Jehovah's Witnesses once every 3 months and interview every single congregant. And then you'll get a real snapshot what's going on, because people live in fear and they are controlled by the local elders because they don't speak out. And that comes from the top. That comes from you. That's how you train the elders, to instill fear into the congregants in the local congregations. And there's some beautiful people there that think that they're doing the right thing. And you couldn't care less about them. And I can say that because that's what we've experienced. And we were giving our best to this organisation. And we've been kicked to the curb, and we've been left to rot. So I challenge any member, or all of you actually, to message me, and I will give you my phone details, and we can have a conversation about what you're going to do with local elders who take it upon themselves to fleece the flock, not feed them, fleece them and bully them and cause mental torture and psychological abuse to its congregants. It's disgusting, and you need to stop it. If you have one scintilla of care in those hearts of yours, you should take what I'm saying on board, and you should listen, and you should absolutely go into the congregations. Send people from the branch. Do it regularly, because this is just going to keep snowballing and snowballing and snowballing until it's so big, that who knows what's going to happen then. But you're listening to one very disappointed, to say the least, disappointed ex-Jehovah's Witness who gave everything for 35 years to this organisation. And I want my donations back. You can contact me and we can negotiate. Because I'll try and pursue it. And that's all I've got to say. And I appreciate everybody's comments. Please keep them respectful. If I see any nonsense on the comment section, I'll just delete the messages. I want to reach out to everybody, and I want to provide a safe platform where anybody who's been in my situation in this organisation can speak freely, openly, and let's start bringing a voice in. We know that the child sexual abuse is in full swing now, and it's been covered all over the world with this organisation. But I want to bring another arm in of abuse, because all abuse is shocking, and I want to cover, as an ex-mental health professional too, I want to cover the mental and psychological abuse that these men who call themselves shepherds, who are supposed to be imitating Jesus Christ, I want your stories so that we can gain momentum and speak out about this kind of abuse. I don't think it's covered enough, but I think it really needs to start happening, because I think it happens to thousands of people and they just get lost in the sea of humanity without ever finding their voice and talking about their own experience of abuse, psychological and mental abuse and bullying and all that kind of nonsense, which is disgusting. So I will say thank you for listening to me, and please leave your respectful comments down below, and I'll endeavour to answer every single one of them. Thank you.